Hey guys, welcome back to the crypto wave. So there was a ton of information today, simply because the announcement finally occurred. We knew that the animal farm is going to get unpaused on the 21st. It is currently 12:45 a.m. As you know, that's when I typically do this junk. Well, junk, I'm being funny. I actually enjoy doing this, but huge announcement. So in case nobody, or in case anybody who wasn't following, there was a AMA today with Forex, just as he promised, going over all of the stuff. Well, not all of it, but a lot of the stuff that's going to be kind of what to anticipate in the coming week, and then what to anticipate and how is the unpausing going to occur. So if we jump over to my notes, where did I put it? So I listened to the whole entire thing, jotted down some of the major stuff that he talked about, and that is, in essence, kind of what I thought were like really good highlights and things that we need to know. So anybody following this channel doesn't have to listen. It was almost like 2.5 hours of him talking, which is good. You know, I'd rather him be out there talking because we know that hypes up the prices and stuff like that, especially with the project coming back online soon. We're going to want some hype because, as anybody knows, as I mentioned before, I think there is going to be a bit of a sell-off with everybody freaking out once it unpauses. However, he actually thought of this, and there's a couple things he mentioned that would hopefully counteract that sell-off. So let's get into the highlights. I'm just going to bowl through these real quick, just that way the video doesn't take too long, and everybody can kind of go back to their nights or their days and enjoy their time in this Easter weekend here. So first things first, version 2 credits will be where the version 1 credits was. What does this mean? It basically means that if you had pigs in the pig pen, if you had pigs... So version 1, when I say version 1, it's going to be everything you had before the pause. Version 2 is what we're all going to be getting after the pause. So version 1 credit, if you had, say, 10 pigs over here in the pig pen when it was paused. Now at the moment, anybody who pulled theirs out realizes that this is going to say 0. But you got to remember that the pause actually was taken, or the pause happened and the snapshot was taken before he asked everybody to pull this out and then go over to the pig credit. So if you had, say, 100 pig in the pig pen, and that is where your pigs were at the time of the pause and snapshot, then that is where you're going to get them back. So when this all unpauses and all the simulations and things are done, you should automatically see pigs staked in here for you. Now that goes the same with anywhere else you had pigs. If you had pigs in your wallet, you will get pigs in your wallet. If you had pigs... Excuse me, I'm sorry. If there were pigs in the piggy bank, like I have here, so if you had pigs in the piggy bank, then you go, or these are actually LP, but that's where you're going to get. It's automatically going to put it into the protocol and shove it into your previous place that you were holding the pigs. Now, some people are going to say, how in the heck is that even possible? Because I've already cleared all this stuff out. But you got to remember, the snapshot was taken before he asked you to move everything. The move was simply just to get as much pigs off of the version 1 and get it moved over to version 2, including the liquidity. He needed as much pigs as possible to pull as much liquidity out or as much as the BUSD out as he could. So that is number 1. 82% of pigs will be locked up at the time of launch. So this is going to cause a little bit of less sell pressure. Now, the interesting thing, the reason I think he's saying this is 82% is because he goes on to say that when this does launch, let's say that you had pigs in the pig pen, it is going to throw it in there and stake it for you. And he didn't say specifically, but he did say there's going to be a small time lock on that. And that time lock is in essence, so once this unpauses, everybody's not coming in here, harvesting, jumping, and selling. I think it's almost like he's going to try and, well, for lack of a better word, he's going to force a cooldown period once everything goes live. He didn't say how long that pause is going to be, but just anticipate that there is going to be a pause there. So if you imagine everything, if we go back to my original sheet way back here, we had 66% locked up. So 66% of the pigs in the pig pen locked up. He's saying 85 or 82% is locked up. Well, that makes sense because if you had about 66% locked up in the pig pen, and that's going to be time locked for a period, he didn't say how long, then you have the rest of it being locked, or a vast majority of it being locked up in the piggy bank for everybody who put in LP and staked it for long durations. Then that 82% lockup, excuse me, I didn't mean to yawn. That 82% lockup does make sense, which is what he was saying is going to cause, it's going to decrease that selling pressure from the lockup and the fact that he's going to be doing a little bit of a time lock. Yeah, it's going to be a small time lock to prevent people from selling or fear of pulling and dumping. Plus the pig pins are all long-term holders. We said that. He did mention, and we've talked about this, he still has millions in rehypothecation funds that he's been holding on to. So just as I anticipated, although the dogs and things were not accumulating while everything was paused, everybody who left their stuff in, he was still using that as a pancake swap mining tool in the back end. So that rehypothecation, he says he has millions basically on standby once we go live again, because he can't pause pancake swap, and that's where all that stuff is technically mining on the back end. He says he's not going to use it for buybacks, and I think this is actually a good move, simply because what's going to happen? You're going to unpause. There's going to be a lot of people who are fearful, want to just exit, want to sell, want to get out. If you were to just start dumping millions of dollars into buybacks, people are just going to be selling against those buybacks. And I guarantee you those buybacks are going to get eaten up pretty dang quick. So he says he won't be using it for buybacks. I think even typed it in here. I think he's not going to use it for buybacks initially. I think you're eventually going to start seeing some buybacks, because that's what he was doing before. Again, if we go back over to here, he had already started doing, where was it? He had done a bunch of buybacks. I must not have listed it on here, but at any rate, he did do some buybacks on there. So, but on top of that, he did say he was going to be putting millions into the pig pen. So as you know, this is where, the ownership of the platform comes from. And the more you have staked, the more BUSD you earn. As we know, there was the pig pen over here that it says vault migration underway. But the pig pen we were keeping an eye on, that was this treasury over here. So he was saying that he may end up putting millions into that pig pen, which is going to be huge also. Now, he does says 5% will be open and claimable. What does that 5% mean? It's likely those who, like I said, hadn't put it into the piggy bank, hadn't put it into the pig pen. So basically it was in their wallets and they were holding it. There's going to be that 5% of people that are going to have that available to claim and withdraw at that point. Or not withdraw, I'm sorry, but you're going to get it. Excuse me, you're going to get it into your wallet and you'll be able to sell it. So when version 2 launches, there will be a 20% bonus on new collateral. This is in essence to help people get into the ground floor, he said. And it's supposed to offset, because you're going to be able to have this 5% people that may or may not dump. You don't know. He's just trying to find ways of offsetting that. One way to offset it, like I said, is he's going to put a time lock on that pig pen initially. He is likely going to put millions into the treasury to incentivize people to hold it in there even after the time lock releases. But in this particular case, he's also going to be giving a 20% bonus for any new collateral going into the piggy bank. And in my opinion, he's talking about ground floor. He's talking about, it's almost like you're getting in pre-sale. I don't see it that way. I think it's a lot of fancy talk that he's, in essence, he's trying to incentivize people to put capital in. The more they are able to put in capital, the more... Sorry, my phone just buzzed. It was in a new language. Bear with me just 1 second, I apologize. Oh, I see what happened. I apologize. My phone just did an update and it kind of threw me off because it was basically in a whole nother language, which is a little bit weird. Okay, but what I was going to say is it's just basically his fancy way of saying It's his fancy way of saying we need to incentivize people to buy in, using their collateral as opposed to the collateral that he's been accumulating. He's talking about getting in on the ground floor. I think that ground floor doesn't quite make sense because this has all been kind of predetermined and snapshotted and such. But if you do get in with a 20% bonus, it definitely gets you a leg up by putting more collateral in and getting that 20% bonus there. The next thing he had mentioned is that he does have a whole entire marketing team. In fact, he said two full-time people that are going to be doing marketing and that type of thing. And I believe he called it SEO, but in essence, there's going to be a big push for SEO, which is basically helps boost Google searches and things, because he wants Drip and Animal Farm to be kind of the first things that are popping up when people are searching DeFi and yield farming and that kind of thing. So that's kind of on the back end stuff. That's pretty big news as well. He is working on, he basically said, hey, if this is ever to happen again, him and his team are working and planning, kind of setting up a new way of handling this, so that if there is indeed an error with any type of protocol in the future, just like this one, something happened to Pigs, he had to pause the entire project. And he's basically trying to find a way, and he didn't get into specifics, but they're trying to find ways that they can pause individual units or do things that doesn't disrupt the whole project as a whole. So, all right, let's talk about PigPen specifically. We did touch on it a little bit, and what he basically said is whatever you had in the PigPen before, you were going to get that again. Now, the numbers may be slightly different because there is going to be a different valuation when it first gets launched. So he didn't get specifically it's going to be a dollar valuation or if it's going to be the actual amount of pigs that you're going to be getting. I'm not sure how that's going to be equated, if that makes sense. So meaning if you had 100 pigs in the pig pen, I don't know if you're going to get 100 pigs in the pig pen again, but you will get the dollar value amount from what I'm understanding. So if for some odd reason the liquidity is ratioed differently and you actually need $200 to equal what you had in there previously, then you'll get 200 pig pen as opposed to 100. I'm basically just making up numbers, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So he didn't say for sure, but he did mention that he was likely going to inject into the pig pen to incentivize people to hold. Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling at this point, but I just didn't want to make this video too long. So Piggy Bank, for those who got in early and poured out. So basically what he did with Piggy Bank, anybody who went in and got in really, really early and was able to start draining, in essence, drain the contract. And those people that were using scripts are people who botted it, which was the entire problem that occurred. Somebody had botted, and where they got in early, they were able to put in $60,000 worth, but they had pulled out like 500,000 or 300,000. I don't remember the number, but a significant bit more what they put in, they were able to pull out. So what is in essence they're going to do? So when they froze everything, what they've been working on for the last couple of weeks is they basically said, okay, how are we going to do this fairly? Well, what we're going to do is what they're going to go line by line, address by address, and whatever you had deposited, they are going to take what you had withdrawn, and so basically with the deposit minus the withdrawal, that's the amount you're going to be credited, especially if you're in the early days. So if you put in 10,000 and you were the first 5 to buy, but because you got in so early and you withdrew, say, $7,000, then you're only going to get that $3,000 credit because you'd already withdrawn $7,000 what you put into it. This is a pretty fair way of going about it. It does remove the fact that some people aren't going to be able to do that huge compounding because it's going to put them at a lower value. But given the circumstances, and I may actually be one of them, I don't know, because one thing he didn't answer is I was actually, I think, the 13th purchaser. I didn't use a script or anything. I just happened to get in 13th. I don't know how that played out, but I didn't withdraw anything. I'd only compounded. So I don't know if I'm going to get that value. I'm not really sure how that's going to play out. But he did say once that's done, so they're basically going to take anybody who put in and anybody who pulled out and pulled out more than they put in. Then they're going to run a simulation, and every purchase from that point going forward is going to get credited in the same order. So if you were 100th person in line that bought, you are going to be the 100th person in line again, minus the top one or two that bought it or used a script. Because of that, he in essence said you're probably going to get more than what you initially had. So, and this is what he kept saying even before this AMA, is that you could end up getting more than what you initially put in, simply because you imagine the value of those people who put in a certain amount. They're not going to be like, so if the top 5 people put in 300,000, their values aren't going to be taken into account when the new redistribution occurs. And so you could technically, apologize, that's my work. As you guys know, I work and I am on call. And so, sorry, that was my work. They're blowing me up. Where was I? Oh, so, in essence, you may end up, if you only put $1,000 in, you may end up getting like $1,100 or $1,100 worth because of the new order being applied. Nothing's changing with dogs. We already know that. Once it's unpaused, it's unpaused, with the exception of any dog pool that dealt with pigs. So such as dog BNB or dog BUSD that was accumulating pigs. And in essence, he said, really the only thing you're going to need to do is withdrawal from those protocols and then redeposit. That's basically it. All stakes in the piggy bank are going to auto repopulate. So if you already had stakes in the piggy bank for certain times, like myself, so if you go over here to piggy bank, and it's not going to refresh it, it's going to basically pick up right where it's left off. So if it was at the time of the snapshot, if it was 325 weeks, then it will be 325 weeks when it launches, and all of these values are going to be automatically populated over. So he then started talking about the Lotto, which is going to be a heck of a lot bigger and a heck of a lot cooler than I originally thought. The scratch tickets, and this is some of the questions I raised before, which is, you have to keep accumulating scratch tickets in order to maintain your position to get a percentage of the revenue. And in this particular case, he kind of clarified that, but it is going to be some that are burned. So if your NFT, if you buy a ticket, depending on where you buy it, you'll either use drip, dogs, or pig. They're going to come out in batches. Each batch will have a certain amount of prizes. And once those prizes in that batch is done, then a new batch will be created. If your ticket wins, you basically have to send it to a burn address, and that's how you claim your prize. If the ticket's a loser, then you can, in essence, kind of deposit it or stake it, and at that point, you're going to start earning a percentage of all the future scratcher purchases and things like that. I'm a little more hyped for this than I thought, but I'm still not going to be. I'm not a huge gambler, or not a huge scratcher gambler, I should say. So I don't know how much I'll be going into that. So last but not least, to try and wrap up here, because I'm talking and rambling, hopefully this is helpful for you guys, is drip. And the more I'm digging into it, I'm going to be trying to do more videos on drip as well. He just has so many things that Animal Farm is huge, and it's definitely correlated and linked with drip. But I do have a feeling he's going to be pushing a lot towards drip in the coming year. He's expecting a big push with marketing. He's got apparently a big announcement coming and some new partnerships that are already in the works. Obviously we know that PancakeSwap was already discussed, and PancakeSwap was tweeting things about it. He talked about how he would like to make a privacy bridge, with drip being the use case, and I would imagine for the fees, where fees go and buy drip and burn it. He did mention kind of in passing that Coinbase wallet had reached out to him at some point to list drip. He might pursue that. He was talking about creating a stable coin that's related to drip, which I'd have to look into and learn about other programs that have done that. He's talking about lending and borrowing with drip. So he's got a lot of stuff lined up for drip, which is good. It's a whole nother section of the Forex ecosystem that I am in, and I don't talk about it enough, so I'll start trying to do videos on that. I think, that's about kind of where I'm going to leave it. I know I rambled on quite a bit. I apologize. I went very, very quick. Sorry for the interruptions with my phone acting funky and my work messaging me, but hopefully you found this informative. I tried to condense a 2.5 hour AMA into, a 20-minute rundown. Hopefully it was beneficial for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Please remember, like and subscribe. I am going to try and get some shut-eye once I answer these messages. All right, guys. Have a good one.